All right. So, can anyone in here say that you have been punished for the same offense for more than a month? Whether it's restriction or you lost privileges of something. I'm pretty sure I missed all of 7th grade. Pretty sure. Okay, 2 months? 4 months?
I win this. 10 years. I get second place.
Okay, how long did you suffer consequences? 9 months? Do you want to tell us what you did? Okay. All right. Haley, you had your hand pretty confidently up. 4 months. All right. 2 years? 2 years?
What did you do?
All right. Now, I remember when I was growing up that never once did my parents punish me for something, and I went, good call. Never once. Never once did my dad say, you know what, you are in restriction. Go to your room. You are not going outside. You are not playing video games. You are not whatever for 3 weeks. And never did I go, you know what, that's a wise parenting decision on your part, right? Never. It was always, you're not fair. You don't understand. HATEU, whatever it may be. It was never a good thing. Now, remember last week, I brought Kate up, and what did I want her to do? Okay? All I wanted her to do, okay, is this too much to ask? Is it? And I tried so many different ways. I begged, I asked nicely, I condemned her, I insulted her, I treated her badly, and yet she still came back. She's a glutton for punishment, I guess, right? So now, no matter how much, now the reality is that if I ever want Kate to be able to juggle, what am I going to have to do? Let's use some of the words that we have. Train her. Okay. If I ever want her to be able to juggle, I'm going to have to train her. I'm going to have to equip her. I'm going to have to show her how to do it. I'm going to have to be patient. It's going to take time. And if I'm not willing to do that, it says something about how important it is to me that she juggle. If I'm going to just give up and be like, forget it. You're not worth it. Well, then it must not be that important to me that she learned how to juggle. And we all have people that we wish would act different, and with our parents, we get into this mindset that if we will just tell them over and over and over again, or if we are rude enough to them, or if we rebel enough and go against them enough, finally they will just give in. And we get it into our minds that if we will just be ornery enough or independent enough or whatever it may be, that finally they will understand how to be good parents. Finally, they will just get it. And it really is like me just standing up here with Kate, and she's just like, I don't know how to juggle. And me just figuring if I just say, hey, I want you to juggle. Please juggle. Juggle, please. Come on. Please juggle. That eventually she is just going to get it. With our parents, with your parents, and with mine, they take training. And if we want something to be different, there are going to need to be more things than us just telling them, I wish you were different. Or I wish I had different parents, which probably all of us in this room at some point or another have probably tempted that thought, right? Yep. Now, last week, I'm going to recap a little bit of what we said last week because it kind of it does definitely flow into what we're going to do this week. We looked at the different things that the Bible says to parents. And I know that some of you, or maybe all of you, were like, yeah, right? I'm going to run through these really quick. Proverbs 19:18 says, discipline your kids or you'll wreck their lives. You're like, I disagree with that one. I don't think it would wreck my life and my parents. But it's true. If our parents didn't discipline us, and we talked about the kids in prison that they interviewed, said, man, nobody put any restrictions on me. Nobody ever told me no. Nobody cared enough to shape my life, and their lives were ruined. Proverbs 13:24 says, discipline your kids if you love them. If you don't discipline, it means you hate them. I mean, it actually says you hate your kids if you don't discipline them. Ephesians 6:4 says, or Colossians 3:21, don't aggravate your kids. And Ephesians 6:4, don't provoke your kids to get them angry. And we talked about that idea of shaming, our parents shaming us. And maybe there have been times in your life where you felt like that's what your parents have done. And we talked about, those things you see on Facebook or whatever of the parents who make their kids wear a sign, and it shames them and identifies them as that kind of person. And so the Bible has these instructions for parents of going, look, if you want kids that are going to grow up and going to be healthy, that are going to follow God, then these are some of the requirements. These are some of the things that you need to do. And then what the Bible says to kids. Proverbs 1:8, don't just ignore what your parents say. You'll discover that eventually the things they teach you, hopefully, and we're not talking about the terrible habits that each of our parents have taught us and things like that, but that if we will listen to the wisdom of our parents, wisdom that isn't contrary to what God says, that eventually it will be like a garland, a decoration, an ornament around your neck. It will be good in your life. And I can tell you sort of on the other side of this, that I look back at certain things that my dad told me that I just rolled my eyes, or I hated that he just like, why are you making such a big deal of that? That now I'm doing my very best to teach my own kids. And there are things I'm like, okay, all right, Dad, not as stupid as I thought you were, right? In all this stuff. Some of it you're pretty dumb. But anyway, Ephesians 6:1, obey your parents and it's promised that things will go well for you. Colossians 3:20, obey your parents, not just so things go well with you, but because it pleases the Lord. And so we have to consider that in our lives. If you're here and you're like, I love God, I want to follow Jesus, I want to be identified as a Christian. Well, guess what? Obeying your parents pleases God. And Proverbs 23:22, listen and obey no matter how old or out of touch your parents may be. I love that the Bible identifies that. I love that the Word of God goes, look, your parents may be a little freaky. Okay, your parents may not get it. Your parents may not think the way you think. In fact, they're not going to think the way that you think. But that we are called not to just disregard them and not to just push them aside. We are called to honor them. And we're called to obey. But so much of parent-teen conflict comes because parents don't believe that their kids have enough wisdom and don't believe that they are ready to be independent. And kids, typically starting in the teen years, don't feel like their parents treat them with enough respect, don't believe that their parents think they have enough wisdom, and don't give them the kind of freedom that they really want. And the war is on. And for some of you, it's war. Some of you, it might be little skirmishes here and there. Doesn't get too bloody. For others of you, you are on like World War XI, right? And things get really bad. And so we started last week about, all right, what can we do about this? Are you just stuck? And I know that for many of you, I know that for me in my life, there were so many times I just felt stuck. Carolyn, did you ever just feel stuck in your family? Just like, there's nothing I can do. This is hopeless. My parents are going to be who they're going to be. My brothers and sisters are going to be who they're going to be. And I hate my life. And we just give up. I see different. Because I see a God that is bigger than our family issues. I see a God that is more powerful than your bad parents. I see a God that is more powerful than rebellious kids. And so what I want to encourage you tonight is to consider, do you believe that God is big enough? In all these things that we're going to talk, the stuff we talked about last week and the stuff we're going to talk about tonight, do you believe God's that big? Just keep that in your mind as we go through this. So last week, how to train your parents? Initiate the change. You may have to go first. You cannot sit around and just go, well, I'll change as soon as they do. I can't sit around. If juggling is really important to me, I can't sit around and just go, well, I'll juggle when Caitlin starts juggling. I'm going to be waiting a long time. And then when she doesn't, I'm going to start to get bitter. I'm going to start to get frustrated. And I'm going to be like, why isn't she knows how important this is.
Calm down.
Juggle! Right? So you may have to go first. You can't sit back and just go, well, I'll do it when they do it. You may have to go first. And you may say, that's not fair. They're the adults. They're supposed to be the mature ones. They're supposed to lead me. Sure. Okay. You're right. How's it going for you? So you may need to initiate the change. In fact, for all of you, in some way in your family, you need to initiate change. And it's probably different for all of us. But hear that. You need to initiate change. Stop sitting around. Stop waiting for your parents to become perfect. And initiate some change in your family. The next thing we talked about, be the change that you want to see. You want there to be less screaming in your house? What can you do? Stop screaming. If you want your parents to trust you, what do you need to start doing? Be trustworthy. Be the change that you want to see. Give them an example of what not screaming looks like. Give them an example of what kindness and respect looks like. Give them an example of what forgiveness looks like. And again, it's so easy to go back to, well, I will when they will. Not forgiving her. Not until she asks for it. Okay, you can do that if you want to. You can wait it out. And it's called a stalemate. It's called, both sides just kind of are sitting there and nothing gets better. It just gets worse. Be the change that you want to see. And that was when we looked at that verse in James. Is there anybody here who wasn't here last week? I handed this out last week. Anybody still have this by their bed or on a mirror or anything? Okay. It says this. Some really specific ways to train your parents. Do you want to be counted wise? To build a reputation of wisdom? All of you do. I know. Because I do too. Here's what you do. Live well. Live wisely. Live humbly. It's the way you live, not the way you talk, that counts. Mean-spirited ambition isn't wisdom. Boasting that you are wise isn't wisdom. Twisting the truth to make yourself sound wise isn't wisdom. It's the furthest thing from wisdom. It's animal cunning. Devilish conniving. And I love those words. I know those are like animal cunning. It's like, it's that base nature of just survival and looking out for yourself. And I'm going to devour whatever I need to just to look out for myself. That's what we try and do when we decide, you know what, I'm going to show you. It's animal cunning and devilish conniving. Whenever you're trying to look better than others or get the better of others, things fall apart and everyone ends up at each other's throats. Real wisdom, God's wisdom, begins with a holy life and is characterized, listen to this, by getting along with others, except for your parents because they're impossible. Oh no, it doesn't say that. Getting along with others. It is gentle and reasonable, overflowing with mercy and blessings, not hot one day and cold the next, not two-faced. As I read that last, I'm going to read this again. And I want you to think about your relationship with your mom or your dad. Real wisdom, God's wisdom, begins with a holy life and is characterized by getting along with others. Listen to this. It's gentle. Would you count your relationship with your mom or your dad as gentle? No. And reasonable. Overflowing with mercy and blessings. Not hot one day and cold the next, not two-faced. Man, I look at some of those things, and there were definitely seasons with my parents where it's like, hey, things are pretty good. We're kind of clicking, and they're seeming to trying to understand me. And then there were the days where it was just the most unreasonable situation that you could imagine. And all the animal cunning and devilish conniving came out. And it got really bad. And this brings me to a couple things that I want us to look at this week. What do you do in those situations when things are not reasonable, when things are not fair, when you're angry, when they're picking on you, when they're not respecting you, when they're not counting you as wise, when they're not letting you do what you want to do and just let you be? What happens? Let me ask you this. What is the difference between responding and reacting? What's the difference? Is there a difference? Responding and reacting.
Responding is like you're thinking about it first, and reacting is just like a reflex.
Okay. So responding is thoughtful and reacting is a reflex. Any others?
Responding is just saying, and reacting is doing.
Responding is saying and reacting is doing. Okay. Good. What else? Responding versus reacting. Those are good. Yeah. Okay. They have to react in order to respond. Okay. Cool. Good. Yep. There is something thoughtful about response. Okay. I respond to something means that I've thought it through and there is some intentionality to response. There is no intentionality to reaction. Okay, reaction is something God gave you as self-preservation in some circumstances. Okay, if I were to come up and light Jillian on fire, she needs to react. She needs to do whatever she can to preserve her life. Okay, but Anna, come here. Okay, help me out.
Oh no.
Okay,
Are you gonna help
so
him light me on fire?
start like tap me on the shoulder. Like keep going. All right. So a response would be, Anna, I would love to explore some opportunities for you to stop doing that.
Why? It's fun, entertaining.
And I would appreciate very much you seizing the opportunities presented henceforth. Thank you. Response. And it was effective. All right. Versus, here, stay up here. Continue, please. Reaction. She's doing something that I don't like her to do. Okay. Anna, stop! Are you kidding me? I'm just going to tap him. I'm just going to tap him. I don't care what you want. I'm just going to tap it. Freak! Reaction, right? No. Well, hopefully they don't do that to you. I love you and I appreciate your help. Okay, so responding versus reacting, they are different. And some of you, and I'm not going to ask you to identify yourself, but some of you, you know you're a reactor. It's what you do. And anytime you don't like something, anytime something bothers you, there is not the slow to speak, slow to become angry. It is always react. It's always make this stop, and I don't care who I hurt in order to get them to stop or in order to change my situation. And I want to challenge you to consider what a life of responding would look like in your life. And maybe with your dad, you respond because you and your dad get each other. And he knows how not to push your buttons. But man, your mom, what a...
Yes.
Maybe you and mom are like this. But man, your dad drives you crazy, and even you get your mom in on it with your dad, and you just dogpile, and you're just like, rah, that guy, man, rah, right? Whatever it may be. So it may be different in your life. You may not be a reactor with everybody, but I want to challenge you with the concept of responding. Who do you need to start responding to rather than reacting? How do you need to go before God and go, God, in this area of my life, I am a reactor and you are calling me to something different. You're calling me to be slow to speak and slow to become angry, and I'm broken. You want to train your parents? Stop being a reactor. Because how many of you could say that your reaction has made things worse? Anybody who has reacted would be able to go, yep, my reactions make it worse. Reacting versus responding. Now, maybe you have some excuses. Maybe you have even said some of these things like this. I can't help how I react. I can't help it. They make me angry and I just, okay, somebody look up 1 Corinthians 10:13. Get it and then raise your hand. 1 Corinthians 10:13. It's like Bible Bowl. 1 Corinthians 10:13. Don't stand up until you have it. Oh, she got it. Okay, read it. Yeah, go ahead.
The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful, and He will allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure.
I love how this starts. Thanks, Ellie. The temptations in your life are no different from what others experience. Guess what? Your parents drive you crazy. My parents drove me crazy. My grandparents drove my parents crazy. My great-grandparents drove my grandparents who drove my parents who drive me crazy. What you are experiencing is not new. That doesn't make it unimportant, and it doesn't make it easy. I'm not discounting what you're going through, but it's interesting that the Bible specifically points out, look, this is not new stuff. You are not experiencing stuff that no one has ever gone through before. Let me say again, just because this is important and I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm disregarding this. I am not speaking, when I'm talking about, it's nothing new, but I am not speaking to you if you are being abused or if you are being violated. If those things are happening, you need to ask for help, and there are people who love you and we will help you. And so those are not things that you should be looking past, or you should just be going, oh, well, I'll try and just respond. I want you to react to those things. Am I clear on that? And I want this to be a safe place to where you can come to one of us as adult staff and we can talk, because you should not be abused and you should not be violated. And those are never things that God wants for your life or should be acceptable. So please hear that. And if you're in that situation, please, you're not alone, and don't let fear or whatever keep you in that situation. But for so many of the things that teenagers go through and the frustration and the hurt and stuff, we feel like, oh my gosh, well, I have to handle this because no one else knows how to handle it. And God's put people in your life who can speak wisdom if you're willing to go and seek it. And it says in this verse, the temptations in your life are no different from what others experience, and God is faithful. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you're tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. I can't help how I react. Yes, you can. If you are willing to go to God and go, God, reshape me. Help me to react different. Help me to respond different. I need you to heal me in this area. This, I can't help how I react. That is a faithless response. It's a faithless statement. I can't help it. Well, maybe you can't, but God in you can. Maybe you would scream this at me. Well, Jeff, they make me this way. I was perfectly content in my room, minding my business, playing my phone, texting my friends, and my mom comes in and they make me crazy. Who has it? You have it? All right, stand up. Hebrews 4:14. Read it loud.
So then, since we have a great high priest who has entered heaven, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold firmly to what we believe.
I'm sorry, through 15. Sorry, keep going.
This high priest of ours understands our weaknesses, for he faced all the same testings we do, yet he did not sin.
They make me this way. They make me. Meaning, I don't have any option. I have to act the way that I react. I have to respond the way I respond. They make me this way. And in this verse, it's going, look, God knows what you are going through, and he says there's a different way. He says there is a way out. He says there is healing that can take place where your parents can't make you anything. If you are open to that kind of healing and confessing that kind of struggle. So when we say they make me this way, you're giving them all the power. Why are you giving your parents that kind of power? Stop giving them that kind of power over your life. They make you this way? You know who you should say makes you some way? Jesus. Let Jesus, it's like, why are you responding so calmly? Jesus makes me this way. Why aren't you yelling and screaming at your brother and sister anymore? I don't know, Jesus makes me this way. Why are you being so kind, respectful, and trustworthy lately? Jesus makes me this way. Start saying that. Start living that. Start making that your prayer. God, make me that way. Kind, respectful, patient, humble, wise, honoring to my mom and dad even when they drive me nuts. And maybe you've screamed this. I can't take this anymore.
Claim it.
Anybody?
Claim it.
I can't take it anymore. Oh, they get me a new family. Right? All right. Jillian has it. Philippians 4:13.
I can do everything through him who gives me strength.
I can do everything through him who gives me strength. I can't take this anymore. Listen to this. Listen to this. And I'm going to say something really extreme, and it's for real. Okay? I can't take this anymore is a demonic statement. It is giving Satan power. It is exactly where Satan wants you to be. You can't take it anymore? Give up. You can't take anymore? Get out. You can't take anymore? Get rid of that joke of a faith you say you have. You can't take it anymore? Find another way. You can't take it anymore? Empower yourself and just believe you can do it yourself. This is exactly where Satan wants you to be. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Even put up with my parents. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Even respect my mom when she disrespects me. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Even when my dad never shows me any love or affection. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. I can not scream back. I can be obedient. I can tell the truth. And it's not because you feel like it. It's not because you're trying real hard, but it's Christ within you. You can't take it anymore? What are you going to do with it? It's a demonic statement. Take it to God and go, I need you to heal me because I want to react. I want to just let them have it because I'm tired and I don't know what else I can do. And this reacting versus responding is what some of you, is the thing that some of you just need to evaluate when it comes to your relationship with your parents. Here's another way to look at it. Are you a thermostat or a thermometer? Somebody tell me what a thermometer does. What does a thermometer do?
Measures temperature.
It measures temperature. It measures what's already there. And so it reacts, right? What does a thermostat do? What?
It makes it, like it makes it hot.
It determines the temperature. It sets the temperature. It's the thing in your house where your mom says, turn the air down. You have to go and reset the thermostat. And you do, all right? In your family, do you react to the temperature or do you set the temperature? Now, we all probably do both at some at some level. But some of you would need to go, I'm a thermometer. If people are screaming, I'm screaming. If somebody's angry, I'm angry too. If I don't like something, you just react to whatever the temperature is. And you've never considered that you could be a thermostat in your family. You could have that kind of power. Rather than just responding and reacting to the things that are going on around you, change the temperature. Be the thermostat. Be different. Initiate the change. Be the change that you want to be. Proverbs 15:1 says, a gentle answer turns away anger. A gentle answer turns away anger. That is a thermostat verse. Somebody does something where they're angry and they're being disrespectful to you, whatever, and you respond gently. Man, you ever tried to be mad at a calm person? What's the point? Well, you're a jerk. I'm really working on that. I know. I'm sorry. If you could just be patient with me.
That's totally me.
He's a jerk for being like that. That's a gentle response turns away anger. Will you be a thermostat or a thermometer? And guys, I want to challenge you again with this in your families. What have you just given up on? You've never even considered it. You've just decided, well, my family's a train wreck, I'll just pile on. Well, my mom and dad hate me, so I'm just going to hate them back. But one of the things that will determine whether you respond or react, whether you decide to be a thermostat or a thermometer, is this: your view of your parents. Your view of your parents will impact everything. If you view your parents as people who know how to be perfect, who know how to be the kind of parents that would not make you angry, that will always be fair, and would treat you with the kind of respect and kindness that you deserve. They know how to do this, and they are choosing to screw up your life. Well, yeah, you'd treat them pretty bad, right? Because after all, they could be perfect, and they're choosing not to be. Is that the way that you view your parents? Are you looking at them as these people that know how to be better parents? And yet, they're refusing to because they would rather see you suffer. They would rather see you angry. They would rather make your life hard. Is that the way that you see your parents? Is that your view of them? What if, instead, you saw your parents as broken? What if tonight, when you went home, and you looked at your mom and dad, rather than seeing them as people who could do a better job and they're choosing not to, instead you saw them as hurt and broken people? People who may even have an idea and a desire in their heart to be better, to do a better job at raising you, who wish that they didn't make you so angry, who wish that they could be the kind of parent that you want them to be, and yet they don't know how. How would that change the way you treat them? Rather than them being perfect, you see them as broken. You see them as hurting. I don't know how much you know about your parents' upbringing, but to this day, my dad will call me and he will apologize for something that he said at dinner or something. It was an offhanded comment that he just made. But he will call me and he'll say, hey, you know what? When I said this at dinner, that was out of line. And it was exactly how my dad would have talked to me. My dad is 63 years old, and he is still wrestling with stuff that he saw and experienced from his dad. I don't know what kind of upbringing your parents had. Maybe it was pretty good. Even if it was pretty good, there are things that they wish their parents would have done different. Are you willing to acknowledge that in your parents' life? That they may be wrestling with stuff that is, they're not trying to screw up your life. Maybe they had a bad example. Anytime I'm ready, now as an adult, and I didn't think this way as a kid all the time, but as I think about my dad now, it is a miracle that he turned out the way he did. Issues and problems and things I hate, whatever, the fact that he turned out the way he turned out is a miracle from God, because the example that he had his entire growing up was horrendous. Are you willing to see your parents as hurt and broken people? Because what I think we find is that it's easy to hold our parents to a standard that you would never want to be held to yourself. What if your parents ever accused you of, you know how to be a good kid. You know how to make us happy. You know how to do what we want you to do. You know how to be everything that we ever dreamed you would be, and you're choosing not to. I think in most things, you'd probably go, I'm trying my best. And yeah, even if I do know inside, sometimes I have a hard time getting that to come out. Sometimes I don't react the way that I want to. Guess what? Carter, Emma, and Nathan see my dad in me all the time. And there are parts of it that's like, my dad's a great guy, and I love my dad. And there are a whole lot of things I'm glad they see my dad in me. But there are also those things where I'll react, I'll say something, like, well, yeah, I guess if you're trying to break it. Oh my God. I said I would never say that. Are you willing to see your parents as broken? The Bible says that all have sinned and fall short of God's standard. Except for your parents who know better and they're just trying to screw up your life. All have sinned. All are broken. All have fallen short of what God calls them to. All those things that we read that God says to parents, they're going to be imperfect. Are you willing to look at your mom and dad when you go home tonight? Or your aunt, or your uncle, grandma, grandpa, whoever cares for you? And rather than holding them to a standard that you would never want to be held to yourself, are you willing to see them as hurt, as broken? Ask your parents about their upbringing. It might shed some light on some things. You're like, oh, that's why you're a jerk. Sorry. Don't say that. It might enlighten you to some things, like, and you might come to a place like I have with my dad of going, man, you are a miracle of God. Man, this is not you just trying real hard. This is the Holy Spirit that got a hold of your life, and oh my gosh. Are you willing to be in that place? Because there is a powerful component that we haven't talked about, and it's this, and this is what I want. This is sort of our go away this week, okay? When was the last time you prayed for your parents? You can probably remember the last time that you were mad at them, right? You can probably remember the last fight you had. You can probably remember the last thing that they did that was unfair. You can probably remember the last thing that they said that hurt your feelings. Those things we just sort of dwell on, and we keep those on the front. When was the last time you prayed for them? Little glimpse into my marriage. It is so hard for me to stay angry at my wife when I pray for her. Sometimes I avoid prayer because I just want to stay angry at her. I know I should pray for her, and she's God's kid, and God gave her to me, but darn it, I want to be mad. Next time you're angry at your parents, rather than reacting, go pray for them. Go into your room, unless you want to do it right there, and just be like, but Mom, can I just pray for you right now? And just like, she'll probably fall over. Or be like, no, I'm angry at you. Okay, I'll pray for you in my room. But when was the last time you prayed for your parents? We need to be praying for our parents. You need to be praying over the relationship with your parents. You want things to change? Invite God into the situation. You want things to change? Ask God to come in and reshape and reform your heart into something different that will bring life. Some of you have given up. Some of you have just figured, I'm the kid. I have to suffer. I'm stuck with these people. God must have really screwed up when he put me in this family. God knows what he's doing. And God is bigger than any dysfunctional family. God is bigger than any bad parent. God is bigger than any rebellious teenager. Are you willing and open to inviting that in? How important is it that Kate juggle?
Very.
How important is it that there is healing and hope and joy and forgiveness in your family? God is able to do this. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. You want things to be different? Ask God. He's not going to be like, oh, come on. Allie, your family's not that bad. Just try harder. He will not do that. If you want wisdom, if you want things to change in your family, ask God for it. He says he'll give it to you. You want your heart to be different? Ask God for it. He says he'll do it for you. So I come back to the question that I said in the very beginning. Do you believe that God is big enough? Do you believe that God is big enough to train your parents? Do you believe that God is big enough to do the work inside your heart to make you have the ability to respond differently, to live differently, to love your parents differently, to view your parents differently? Or do you think that God just royally screwed up and put you in a family where there's no hope? So would you bow your heads? And again, the reason we do this is because it's so easy for us just to come, go through the motions, and just leave. But I want to pray for you tonight, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and bow your heads, because what I'm going to say isn't any of your business. This is for you. This needs to be your decision. But I want to be able to, for the staff to be able to see, and for us to be able to pray for you. If you are in a place where you are having a hard time having any hope for your relationship with your mom or dad, if you're in a place where things are broken, where things are, and you've given up on repair, you've given up on things, on hoping anything could ever be different, and you're just having a really hard time with your parents, will you just raise your hand? I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to ask you to confess anything. But would you just raise your hand and go, please pray for me? Because things are hard right now. Thanks. And if you're in a place where maybe things at home are tolerable, you've got the regular stuff, and it's not that big an issue. But as we've been talking over the last couple weeks, if you have sensed God stirring up something in your heart where you realize that there are some issues in you, some ways that you've been thinking, some actions that you've been taking part of, and you are in a place where you're like, I just need to confess this. James says, confess your sins and you'll be healed. And again, I'm not going to embarrass you. I'm not going to ask you to come up here and confess your sins in front of everybody, but I'd encourage you to tell somebody. But I want to pray for you. If you're in a place where you're just going, I'm an issue. The ways that I think and the things that I do are not honoring to my parents, are not the things that God is calling me to. Would you just raise your hand? And you don't need to look around. It's not your business. Okay, thanks. God, right now, we are going to declare that we believe that you are bigger than our dysfunction. And I pray for those right now who raise their hand that life is just really hard with mom and dad. And they've given up hope. They've just sort of decided that things are the way they're going to be. And I pray that you would renew hope in them. That you would give them a new perspective of your power and your love and your grace. And God, I pray that that you would shape them and mold them in a way where they would be able to initiate change in their family. That they would be willing to go first. That they would listen for your voice every day, and rather than just reacting the way they've always reacted, that they would seek you, and that they would begin to set a new tone in their families. And God, for those who tonight confess that they are many times the issue, that the choices and the actions and the words that they allow to come out of their lives is not of you. God, I thank you for the forgiveness that you have for them. I thank you for the grace and the mercy that you shower on them, and that you've never expected them to be perfect. And so now, God, as they have confessed that sin, as they have confessed those ways that they have lived against you, God, that you would be faithful to heal them. And that the areas of rebellion, the areas of disrespect, the actions that they have taken of abuse and hurt and vengeance, God, that those things would be removed completely, and that you would replace those things with healing and love and compassion. And God, for each one of us in this room, help us to see our mom and dad the way that you see them. Help us to be able to stop just seeing what's right in front of us, the stuff that we don't like, the stuff that drives us nuts, and help us to see past that to who you see. Help us to see the people that you made. And God, to have mercy and grace when stuff comes out of our parents that's just ugly. And help each one of us to be tone setters in those relationships. That we would have strength through you to love them unconditionally. We are so grateful, God, that we are not alone in this, that this isn't just about us trying really hard. We declare our faith in you that you have to do this work in us. So God, do it. Make us open to it and change us. In Jesus' name.